Okay. Okay. So we completed subqueries. Okay. Next. So what the next topic is database transactions. Okay. Then. So like what is the definition? What is a transaction is? What is the definition of transaction? A transaction is a transaction is a unit of work. Transaction is a unit of work that contains one or more DMLs. It's a unit of work that contains one or more DMLs and must be saved as a whole or must be cancelled as a whole. Okay, it's a unit of work that contains one or more DMLs must be saved as a whole or must be cancelled as a whole. So this is the definition. Now, then so what is the meaning of must be saved as a whole, must be cancelled? Okay, then so sometimes a transaction contains one DML, sometimes it contains multiple DMLs. Sometimes contains one DML, sometimes contains multiple DMLs. Example, you do money withdrawal. You go to ATM, you do money withdrawal. Money withdrawal is a transaction. But when you do the transaction, background update command is executed. Yes or no? Background update command is executed. That means the transaction contains how many DMLs? One DML. Next, you do money deposit. When you do money deposit, background, what is executed is update command is executed. This deposit also contains how many DMLs? One DML. So you do money transfer. You do money transfer. Money transfer means transferring amount from one account to another account. So this contains how many DMLs? Two DMLs. There will be two updates. Update one, next one, update two, like this. There will be two updates. Update one, update two. What is the first update? First update, debit the amount from one account. Second update, credit the amount to another account. From one account, money is debited to another account, money is credited. Okay, na? So this contains how many DMLs? Two DMLs. Sometimes contains one DML, sometimes contains multiple DMLs. But if it contains one DML, no problem. If it contains multiple DMLs, then problem comes. If it contains one DML, okay. But if it contains multiple DMLs, then so all must be saved or all must be cancelled. That means both updates must be saved or both updates must be cancelled. So that is the meaning. Must be saved as a whole, must be cancelled as a whole means either all must be saved or all must be cancelled. All are saved, no problem. All are cancelled, no problem. When problem comes, one is saved, one is cancelled. Like let's take, I'll explain this. For example, let's take money transfer. Money transfer means just see transferring amount from account 1 to account 2. How much amount you are transferring? Suppose rupees what's it? 1000. You are transferring 1000 rupees from account 1 to account 2, or you are transferring amount from your bank account to Paytm account. Your bank account to Paytm account. Okay, na? Then, so here there will be two updates here. There will be two updates. Update 1 and update 2. There will be two updates. What this update? Okay, this update 1 will do balance equal to balance minus 1000. Yes or no? Huh? From first account, money is deducted. Huh? Yes or no? To the second account, what? Money is added. Balance equal to balance plus 1000. So because you are transferring from account to 1 to account to 2. So from source account, money is deducted, to target account, money is added. So this is the transaction. So this is successful. This is successful. This update is failed. Then first update is successful. Money is successfully debited, but money is not added to the target account. Money deducted from bank account, but money is not added to the Paytm account. Money is lost or not? Yes. What is this is? This is what's that? Invalid. And here, then this is fail. This is successful. Then this is also invalid. Actually, it will not occur, but this is invalid or not? Yes. But something happens like this, we'll think that it is cash back. Okay, na? Then. So this is yes or no? One is successful, one is fail. Okay, then. So both are invalid transaction. Suppose here, see, both are successful. Both update statements are successfully executed. Then valid. Next one, both are failed. Both are failed. Then what's that? Valid. No problem. When problem comes, one successful, one failed, then problem comes. Both successful, no problem. Both are failed also, no problem. So that is why must be saved as a whole. All must be saved. All must be cancelled. All are saved, no problem. All are cancelled also, no problem. But one is saved, one is cancelled means problem comes. That's all. So this is the meaning of transaction. Okay. Okay. Next. So like why? Because what is the reason is every transaction, what is this is called? Every transaction must guarantee a property. Every transaction must guarantee a property called atomicity. Every transaction must guarantee a property called atomicity. That is what's that? What is atomicity means? All or none. What is atomicity means? Atomicity means all or none. All must be done, none must be done. All are done, no problem. None is done, no problem. Either all or none. Either all must be done or none must be done. So then that property is called atomicity. Must guarantee a property called atomicity, that is all or none. So then if transaction if transaction contains if transaction contains multiple DMLs, if all are successful, then it must be what? Transaction contains multiple DMLs. If all DMLs are successful, then it must be saved. If one of the operation fails, then entire transaction must be cancelled. If transaction contains multiple DMLs, if all are successful, then it must be saved. If one of the operation fails, then entire transaction must be cancelled. So if both updates are successfully completed, then what? Save it. But one update is successful, one update is failed, then what you have to do? Cancel it. So when we save, when we cancel, when we save, when we cancel, all successfully completed, then save it. One successful, one fail, then cancel it. Either you have to save or you have to cancel. So for saving and for canceling, okay, that means for saving and for canceling, to handle the transaction, SQL server given 3 commands. Okay, for handling. So once again, sorry, the following commands provided by SQL server called TCL commands to handle what? Transactions, which are used to handle transactions. The following commands provided by SQL server called TCL commands to handle the transaction. Okay, then. So the commands are called TCL. What is TCL means? Transaction Control Language. Given 5 languages: DDL, DML, DRL, TCL, TCL. You know DDL, you know DML, you know DRL. Next, what is TCL, DCL? So what are the 3 commands? One command is what? Commit. One command is rollback. One command is save transaction. There are 3: commit, rollback, save transaction. Okay, commit, rollback, save. So these are the commands provided by SQL server to handle the transaction, commit, rollback, save transaction. Okay, now then. So these commands are called TCL commands. They're mainly used for controlling what's that? Transaction controlling. Next, before going to see this, like here, every transaction as a begin point. Okay, every transaction has a begin point and an end point. A transaction has a begin point and an end point. Okay. Every transaction has a what's it? Begin point and an end point. Now, when transaction begins, like example, you go to ATM. Go to what? ATM. Insert the card. Insert the card. Insert the card. Enter PIN number. Select money withdraw. So transaction begins. When you select money withdrawal, transaction begins. Next, enter amount. Enter amount. Next, you'll get the cash. Next, you'll get the message. Transaction was successful. That is end. Okay, na? Every transaction has a begin point, end one, end point. Sir, okay, then. So you go to like Amazon. You go to what's it? Amazon. You buy the items. You add items to the shopping cart. After adding items to the shopping cart, next what you do? Payment. You select payment. Then payment. Then transaction what begins? You select the method. Debit card, credit card. Next one, net banking, like that. So select net banking. Enter. It will go to the debit card. Enter the debit card number, etc. Then cash is deducted. Next, you'll get the message. Transaction was successful. That is what end point. So every transaction has begin point and what's it? End point. Okay, na? That is in from application. But when in database, when it begins, when it ends. In database, when it begins, when it ends. But when it comes to SQL server, in SQL server, a transaction begins implicitly. Listen this point first. In SQL server, a transaction begins what's it? Implicitly with what? DML command. A transaction begins implicitly with DML. When you submit the DML, transaction begins implicitly and ends implicitly with commit. Sir, okay, na? You understood or not? In SQL server, a transaction begins automatically with what command? DML command, and transaction ends automatically with what? Commit. Okay, starts automatically, ends automatically with what? Commit. Not understood this point here. So transaction begins automatically with DML command and ends automatically with what? Commit. Begins automatically and ends automatically with commit. Okay, then next let's see. So suppose here For example, one second, like suppose you submit update command to SQL server, update emp set salary equals to 2000, where employee number equal to 7369. You submit update command to SQL server. When you submit this command to SQL server, what happens? When you submit this update command to SQL server, what happens? First, transaction what's it begins. Next, it executes what? Update command. Next one, transaction ends with commit. This is what happens. When you submit this update command to SQL server, internally what happens? First what? Transaction begins. Internally one transaction starts. Let's say transaction name is what's it? T1. T1 is transaction name. Next, what SQL server will do? Executes update command. After executing update command, then it will end transaction with what's it? Commit. That means every transaction is automatically saved. Every transaction is automatically ends with what's it? Commit. Every transaction automatically ends with commit. Okay, na? But sometimes you want to cancel the transaction. Sometimes you want to cancel. But if when it ends with commit, you cannot cancel it. Yes or no? Sir, understood or not? So default behavior is ends with commit. Every transaction ends with commit. What is the problem if every transaction ends with commit? What is the problem? Everything ends with commit. Then if you want to cancel this, you cannot cancel it. Yes or no? You want to cancel the transaction. If you want to cancel the transaction, you cannot cancel it. Understood? So that is the problem. Okay, na? So that's why, see, this is recommended or not recommended? This is implicit. Implicit is recommended or not recommended? Not recommended. Why? Because transaction is not in your hands. It is in what, sir? SQL server hands. SQL server will start, SQL server will end with commit. But this is not okay. Why? Because if you want to cancel, you cannot cancel it because it's already committed. So you cannot cancel. So that is the reason this is not recommended. Then what is recommended is, see, like we can also, that means like user can also, listen, user can also start what's it? Transaction explicitly. Default is implicit. You don't want implicit, then you can also start transaction explicitly with one command. Okay, explicitly by using one command. What that command is? Begin transaction command. User can also start transaction explicitly by using begin transaction command and ends explicitly. Okay, na? When SQL server starts implicitly, it ends implicitly with commit. But you can also start. How to start? By using one command. What that command is? Begin transaction command. So you can also start transaction explicitly by using this and ends explicitly with what? Ends explicitly with commit or rollback. If you start explicitly, you got the option. What is that option? If you start transaction explicitly, you got the option to commit or to roll back. If SQL server start the transaction, there is no option. Always ends with commit only. Always it ends with commit. Okay, na? Then, but sometimes you want to commit, sometimes you want to cancel it. So if it ends with commit, you cannot cancel. But if you start transaction explicitly, you got the option to commit or roll back. If you want to commit, you can commit. If you want to cancel, you can cancel. So which is recommended? This is recommended. Explicit is recommended. Okay, then so now let's see. Okay, let's see. Then, like for example, sir, for example, okay, like what this is, begin what's that? Transaction. Begin transaction means transaction what's that? Starts. Next, what you executed? You executed some commands. Update one, next one, update two, like 1 second, update one, next one, insert one, update two, next one, insert two, next one, commit. Then what is this is, your transaction what's that? Begins. Your transaction begin. Next, transaction is started here. How many commands you executed? 4. This transaction contains how many DMLs? 4 DMLs. And finally, transaction is ended with what? Commit. What this is? Transaction what's that? And started here, ended here. Between start and end, you executed some number of DML commands between the start and end. So here transaction is ended with what? Commit. If transaction ends with commit, then it is called successful transaction. If ends with commit, then it is called successful transaction, and operations are what's are saved. If transaction ends with commit, then it is called successful transaction and operations are saved. Okay, then if ends with commit, then it is called successful transaction. Okay, then suppose, for example, begin transaction. Okay, transaction what's that? Begins. Again, executed what? Executed update command, insert command, another update, another insert. Total 4 commands you executed. And finally ended with what's that? Rollback. Here transaction what? Ends. Here it starts, here it ends. Started with what? Begin transaction, ends with what's that? Commit or rollback. So here ended with rollback. Suppose if transaction ends with rollback, then what? If transaction ends with rollback, then it is called what? Then it is called aborted transaction. Aborted transaction, and operations are what? The transaction is called aborted. And what about these operations you have done? These operations are saved or cancelled? Operations are saved or cancelled? Cancelled. Because ended with what? Rollback. If ends with rollback, operations are cancelled. If ends with commit, operations are saved. Whatever the operations you have done, all these operations are cancelled. Update is updated or not updated? Not updated. Insert is not inserted. Update 2 is not updated. Insert 2 is not inserted. So then that means, like before begin transaction, whatever the table is there, you'll get the same table or different table. Before begin transaction, whatever the table is there, you'll get the same table. Yes or no? But in case of commit, after commit, what? Table is changed or not? Yes. In case of rollback, table is changed or not changed? Not changed. Table data remains same after executing rollback, but after executing commit, table data changes or not? Yes. Okay, na? Then. Sir, when we end with commit, when we end with commit, when we end with commit, when we end with commit means all four are successfully completed. Then end with what? Commit. When we end with rollback, so in this four, some are successful, some are failed. There are four now. Suppose three successful, one is failed. So three operations are completed, but this insert is failed. Then what we have to do? Roll back. Roll back the entire transaction. Why? So there are four, three are successful, one is failed. Then you have to end with what? Roll back. Why? Because so finally, what final output should be either all or none. Final output should be either all or none. Either all should be done or none should be done. Sir, okay, na? Understood. Then, so like if all are successfully completed, end with commit. But some operations are successful, some are failed, then end with rollback. Okay, we have to guarantee atomicity property. Atomicity means all or none. So now you tell me this. For example, 1 second. Example 1. Just see. Create table A integer. Create table A integer. Next one. What this is? Begin transaction. Next, insert into A values 10. Next, insert into A values 10, 20, 30. Next one, I'll say roll back. Then, so tell me what the output, which operations are saved, which are cancelled. They'll ask like this. Which operations are saved, which are cancelled? Huh? Which operations saved and which are cancelled? Like what? All are cancelled. Create table. Create table is, sir, where transaction is started? Here, transaction is started here. This insert 10 belongs to T1 transaction. Insert 20 belongs to transaction. Insert 30 belongs to transaction. Ended with what, sir? Rollback. When ends with rollback, that means all these inserts are cancelled. Create table comes under transaction. It's inside the transaction or outside? Outside the transaction. Outside the transaction means implicitly committed. No? Sorry, here 1 second. Transaction is started here. Transaction is started here, na? Then if, sir, if this is not there, then tell me one once. Then no begin transaction, no commit rollback. Then all operations are what? Saved, implicitly committed. What I said here, this point, you see that in SQL Server, transaction begins implicitly with command and ends implicitly with what, sir? Commit. That means, so create table is what, sir? Committed. Executed plus committed. Every operation is committed. Insert is committed. Insert is 20, committed. 30 is also committed. Every operation is automatically committed. Then suppose if I say begin transaction, then what? Here I said begin transaction, but create table is outside the transaction. That means implicitly committed. Yes or no? So only this three comes under transaction, boss. This is not comes under the transaction. It's outside the transaction, means implicitly committed. So this is committed, implicitly committed. Okay, na? Implicitly committed. Next, what is begin transaction? Transaction, what's it? Begins. Let's say T1. Next, insert belongs to T1. Insert 20 belongs to T1. Insert 30 belongs to T1. Next, finally, what you are given? Rollback. If you say rollback, then what happens? Transaction, what's that? Cancel. Transaction is cancelled. That means T1 is cancelled. T1 contains how many operations? T1 contains how many? 3 operations. All these 3 operations are cancelled. Okay, na? But what about create table? Not cancelled, because it's not there in T1. Na? If it is there in T1, it is cancelled, but it's not there in T1. It's outside the T1. So then it is automatically committed, implicitly committed. Okay, then. So then what the output? Create table is what's it? Create table is saved. Next, insert 10, 20, 30 is what? Cancel. Okay, then. Okay. So you want to test, you can test also. Okay, then. Now, so you want to test, execute these commands. Execute all these commands, check saved up, not saved up. Then. Okay, then. So let's see here, but remove these lines. Like, see this. Okay, then. But you see the table. See the table. Create, sorry, what is the table name? Select star from A. If this query gives error, invalid object A, that means create table is also cancelled. Listen this carefully. If this command gives error invalid object A, then create table is also cancelled. But if this query doesn't give any error, it show the table without data. It will show the table without data. That means create table is saved, but inserts are cancelled. Yes or no? Let's see. Select star from A. Then it's not giving error. It is showing the table or not? Yes. but not showing any data. Why? Because these three inserts are what? Cancel. So data is not there. Data is cancelled. Okay. Then understood. Suppose I given something like this. Like I given something. Just see this. Create table A. Create table A. Next one 30. Next one what's it? 30. Next 40. Then after 10, 20, this is what's it? Commit. Next rollback. Now tell me which are saved, which are cancelled. What is the output? Create table is saved. Inserts are 10, 20 is saved. 30, 40 is 30, 40. Huh? Cancel. Create table is saved. 10, 20 are saved. 30, 40 are cancelled. No. Hmm? What you understood, boss? Huh? You are seeing only commit, oh commit, and then say what year rollback, cancel. Not like that. See, once again, everything what is important is where the transaction is started, where it is ended. That is important. Where it is started, where it is ended. Create table outside the transaction. That means implicitly save. Begin transaction, then transaction begins. Let's say T1. Insert 10, 20 belongs to insert 10, 20 belongs to T1. Then it is ended with commit. See, transaction what's it? Ends with commit. Transaction ended with commit means 10, 20 are saved. Transaction is started here, ended with 10, 20. Then this 30, 40 are inside the transaction or outside the transaction? Outside the transaction. If it is outside the transaction, implicitly committed. Yes or no? These two are outside the transaction. When they are outside the transaction, implicitly committed. 30, 40 is also committed. So these two are explicitly committed, but these two are what, sir? Implicitly committed. If this rollback is doing anything, nothing. You are executing rollback. You are trying to end the transaction without starting. Yes or no? You're not started, but you are executing rollback. No use. Yes. That means what is this 30? Implicitly saved. This 40 also implicitly saved. Because it's not there in transaction, it's outside the transaction. When something is outside the transaction, implicitly saved. What are there in the transaction? Only 10, 20 is there in the transaction. Remaining are outside the transaction. They are implicitly saved. Yes or no? Okay. Then. So if you want to test, you can test. Okay, then. So execute this command, but first drop the table. Drop table. What's that? A table is dropped. Next, let's see, because okay. Then now let's execute this. Okay, na? Then so one row affected, one row affected, one row. So total how many rows inserted? 4 rows. Okay, na? Then so next, like see the table. See the again once again. See this rollback transaction request has no corresponding begin transaction. You understood this point? Why it is giving the error? You're executing rollback command without begin transaction. You begin the transaction here and it is ended here. But without starting, you are ending. Without starting the transaction, you are ending the transaction. That's why rollback transaction request has no corresponding begin transaction. So no use of this rollback. Okay. Then now see the table. See the table. Select start from A. See the table. You'll see 10, 20, 30, 40. All the values are there or not? Yes. All are saved. Okay. Then so the first two are saved by using this commit. Next two are saved implicitly because they're outside. Okay, na? Okay then. That's all. So these two examples, example 1 and example 2. Now you understood commit rollback, when it begins, when it ends, how to start, how to end. Okay, that. But what you don't know is, you don't know one, what is that is called save transaction. Okay, then what is save transaction is, what is save transaction? So we can declare save transaction and we can roll back up to the save transaction. We can declare save transaction, we can roll back up to the save transaction. We can declare the save transaction, we can roll back up to the save transaction. And and using save transaction, we can cancel part of the transaction. Using save transaction, we can cancel part of the transaction. Only part of the transaction can be cancelled. Okay. Okay. Now, then let's see this. What? Now, for example, let's take one example. Again, take this. Once again, you take this. Just see. First, see this. Once again, like insert 10, 20, 30. Next one, what? Suppose 40, 50, 60. Just see this. Insert 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Then finally, Once again, I given rollback. Then what happens? All inserts are cancelled. Create table is saved. Create table is saved. Inserts are what, sir? Cancel. Yes or no? That. But I don't want to cancel all this. I don't want to cancel all. I want to cancel only this, or I want to cancel only this. I want to cancel part of the transaction, not complete transaction. I want to cancel only part. Then what you have to do is, after here insert, declare what? Save transaction ST1. Here declare one save transaction here. Save transaction ST2. Here I declared a save point here. I declared one save point here. What is the name is ST1. Here name is ST2. What is the advantage of declaring the save transaction? If you want to roll back, you can roll back up to ST2 or you can roll back up to ST1. What is the advantage of declaring these points? If you want to roll back, we can roll back up to ST2 or we can roll back up to ST1. So let's say I can say rollback transaction ST2. If I say rollback transaction ST2, rollback starts from here. It cancels all the operations up to ST2. That means what are cancelled? 50, 60 are what, sir? Cancel. But what about 10, 20, 30, 40? Not completely, permanently saved, temporarily saved. 10, 20, 30, 40 are what? Temporarily saved. Later, if you want to save them, execute what, sir? Commit. Later, if you want to cancel them, execute one, rollback. At present, temporarily saved. See, they are not rolled back. They are not rolled back means it does not mean that they are committed. They are temporarily saved. 10, 20, 30, 40 are temporarily saved. So later, if you want to save them, execute commit. Later, if you want to cancel them, execute rollback. So let me test. Let me test. Now, let's see. Drop table A. Okay. Drop table A. So table A is what, sir? Drop put. Then let's see here. So execute these commands. All these commands are executed. Now see the table. Selects are from what, sir? A. Then 10, 20, 30, 40. But 50, 60 is what, sir? Cancel. So these two are temporarily saved. But if I say ST1, then rollback transaction ST1. Then up to ST1. Cancel up to ST1. That means what is cancel? 60, 50, 40, 30. So all these four operations are cancelled. But what about 10, 20? 10, 20 are temporarily saved. Okay. That is what meaning of this. So using save transaction, we can cancel what, sir? Part of the transaction. Instead of canceling the whole transaction, we are canceling part. Okay. So if you say run this query, select start from A, what it will show? 10, 20, 30, next what? 10, 20, 30, 40. So 50, 60 are what, sir? Cancel. Okay. That's all. This is about what? Transactions. What is commit? What is rollback? When commit and rollback will be useful? What is implicit? What is explicit? Okay. Then what is save point? Sorry, save transaction. That's all. So okay. Then what the next one is? Next one is database what? Security. Database security. Database security. Okay, database security. In SQL Server, how to provide security in SQL Server? What are the different facilities in SQL Server to provide security? One using what? Logins, one using users, one using privileges, one using views. So what are the different facilities in SQL Server to provide security? Logins, users, privileges, and views. Okay, then there are 4 logins, users, privileges, and views, and they provide security at different levels. How to provide security to your data? Okay, na? Then why 4? Because they provide security at different levels. We need security at different levels. Yes or no? We need security at what, sir? Different levels. So then, so like suppose here, one second. For example, for example, see, suppose here, like this is what? This is SQL Server. This is one. You install SQL Server in this computer. You install SQL Server in this computer. What this computer is called? This computer is called what, sir? Server. This is called server. Okay, then. So inside the server, you created one database. You created the database for the new project. A new project is started. For the new project, you created one database. You created the database for the new project. And here, so you created how many databases? You created 2 databases for the new project. You created 2 databases for the new project. So one database is like say sales database. Another database is HR database. There are 2 departments. So they want to maintain separate database. One database for sales, one database for HR. Okay, na? There are 2 databases like created for the new project. And suppose here there are 2 developers, developer 1, developer 2. There are 2 developers, and these 2 developers have to work with this new database. Both these developers have to work with this database. Developer 1, developer 2, they have to work with this database. But to work with this database, every day these developers have to connect to the server. They have to connect to the server. They have to connect to the server, and they have to work with what's the database. And to connect to the server, what is required? To connect to the server, what is required? Login is required. So then developer 1, every day, what is the login we are using? SA login. But is SA login is given to the developers? SA means system admin. that is admin login. Is admin login is given to the developers? No, admin login is not given to the developers. Then what admin will do? Separate login is created for developer 1, separate login is created for developer 2. Using that login, every day they connect to SQL server. So then one login is created for developer 1, one login is created for developer 2. Using this login, they connect to SQL server. Then login provides security at what level? Login provides security at what level? Server level. Login provides security at what level? Server level. Listen, okay na? So logins provides what, sir? Just see this. First, security at what level? Server level. Now let's see. Okay, so developer 1 connected to server. Developer 1 connected to server. After he connects to server, now he is not allowed to access all the databases inside the server. Are you understood or not? After you connect to the server, he is not allowed to access all the databases inside the server. Okay, sir, here I have taken only 2. If you go to real-time servers, the servers contains hundreds of databases. Are you allowed to access all the hundreds of databases? No. You're allowed to access only the databases that you require for your project. You're not allowed to access all the databases. So here, developer 1 is allowed to access sales database. Developer 2 is allowed to access what, sir? HR database. I want to give the permission to developer to access only sales. I want to give the permission to developer to access only HR database. How this can be done? This can be done with the help of one, what is that is called? User. This can be done with the help of user. Okay, na? User provides security at what level? User provides security at what level? Database level. Logins provide security at what level? Server level. Login is for to connect to the server. User is for to access database. Okay, na? So I'll create one user in sales database, associate the user with this login. I create one user in HR database, associate the user with login. So user is for to access database. So users provide security at what level? Provides security at what? Database level. First listen. Next one. So like 1 second. Developer 1 is allowed to access what, sir? Developer 1 is allowed to access sales database. But in sales database, like you take sales database, in sales database, number of tables are there. So this is the sales database. In sales database, number of tables are there. One table is what? Customer table, product table, sales table, orders table, like number of tables are there. But there is a developer 1, but developer 1 is not allowed to access all the tables inside the database. Is allowed to access only these 2 tables. You understood or not? So database contains hundreds of tables, but is not allowed to access all the tables. Is allowed to access only 2 tables, customer table and products table. How this can be controlled? This can be controlled by using what, sir? Privileges. By using what? Privileges. So privileges provide security at what level? Provide security at what level? Table level. Which table you are allowed to access, which table you are not allowed to access, how that is controlled? That is controlled by using privileges. So privileges provide security at table level. Okay, na? No. So what is the next? Okay. Next. So here, like, what is table contains? So like this is customer table. This is the customer table. What the table contains? Rows and columns. Table contains rows and columns. So this customer table contains a number of rows and number of columns. Okay, na? But this, what I said, developer one is allowed to access customer table, but is not allowed to access complete table. Is allowed to access only specific columns and specific rows. Is allowed to access only specific columns and specific rows. Is allowed to access only this part. Is not allowed to see the complete table. Is allowed to see only specific rows and columns. How this can be done? This can be done with the help of views. Then tell me, view provides security at row and column level. One is server level, one is database level, one is privileges, one is views. Okay. High-tech city billing is there. Yes. Okay, na? That is a server. Okay. Then, is anybody allowed into high-tech city building? No. So in high-tech city building, there are some companies are there. You should be one of the employee of that company. Then only you are allowed. Yes. You are allowed into high-tech city building. You can go into any company. No. You are allowed into only your company. Yes. In that there are number of companies are there, but can you go into any companies? No. You are allowed into only the company which you are working for. Yes. Okay, na? Then in that company, there are number of departments are there. Number of desks are there. So number of departments. Are you allowed into any department? No. You are allowed into your department. You are HR employee. Then you are allowed into HR department. You are sales employee. You are allowed into sales department. Yes or no? Like that. So there is a security at different levels now. There. Here also one. So then, actually, what is the hierarchy? What is the hierarchy? Database. Sorry. What is the hierarchy? First, server. Inside the server, inside the database, tables. Inside the tables, rows and columns. And the rows and columns contains what's data. Yes, data. What is the server level? Database level, users. Table level, privileges. What is the data level? Views. That's it. So different levels, the different securities there. Okay. No. But up to now, what is the login you are using? Up to now, what is the login you are using? Huh? Server. What is the login you are using? Login you are using means server. Till today, what is the login you are using means server. What is the answer, Bas? Huh? SCA. What is the login we are using? SCA login. Now, what I said, so if someone is joined as a developer, then can they use SCA login? You joined as a developer, SCA login, can they provide SCA login to you? No. Separate login is created for the developer, and you have to use that login to connect to the SQL server. How to create the login? Yes. How to create the login? Okay, then how to create the login? So in this, there is a folder. What is the folder? Huh? There is a folder. What is the folder? Is security folder. There is a folder. What is that folder? Security. Expand the security folder. When you expand the security folder, in this there is a call WhatsApp logins. Select logins, right click, select WhatsApp, new login. Okay, na? Then if you join as a developer, suppose assume I am the admin, I'll create a login for you. Okay, na? So like I'm creating a login for you. Logins, right click, new login. Right click, new login. Enter WhatsApp. Enter login name. I'm giving the login name as Naresh. Giving the login name as Naresh. Next one. So you're giving the login for Windows authentication, SQL server authentication. SQL server authentication. If it is Windows authentication, no need to give the password. If it is SQL server authentication, you have to give the password. I'm giving the password 123. 123. Next one 123. Okay, then so this enter login name, enter WhatsApp password. Next one, like user must change password at next login. This is selected. That means compulsory you have to change the password at the next login. But I don't want to change the password at next login. What? Because who create the login? Admin. Admin will create the login for developer. Then developer will change the password in the next login. Sir, understood na? Then so like, but here I don't want to change. I'm uncheck. When you uncheck, so no need to change the password in the next login. Click WhatsApp. Okay. If you click OK, login is created. A new login is created. What is the login name? What is the login name is? Naresh. Naresh is the login. Okay. So you check whether it is created or not. Then again, I'm opening SQL server. Again, I'm opening SQL server. Then what is the login? Naresh. What is the password? 123. Click connect. Connected. Connected or not? Yes. So it's not there yesterday. Today only it's created. Yes or no? Okay. So Naresh connected to SQL server. Naresh connected to SQL server. Now Naresh can access DB 6 PM. Naresh can access DB 6 PM. No. Let's see. So what it is saying? It is giving error. What is the error? Database DB 6 PM is not accessible. Naresh cannot access DB 6 PM. Why? That's what I said. What I said here in this diagram, what I said. Okay, na? Then in this diagram, what I said here. So login is for to connect to server. You connect to server means it does not mean that you can access WhatsApp all the databases. Okay. So to access database, then what? User. So to access the database, like create one user, associate this user with login. Create the user, associate the user with WhatsApp login. So now you want to give the permission to access which database? What is the database? What is our database? DB 6 PM. DB 6 PM. In DB 6 PM, create one user. Under the DB 6 PM, create one user and associate this user with WhatsApp. Associate this user with WhatsApp login. What is that login? What is the login? Naresh. Under DB 6 PM, create one user, associate the user with Naresh login. Once this Naresh is associated with user in DB 6 PM, now Naresh can access WhatsApp DB 6 PM. To access the database, under the database, create one user, associate the user with login. Okay, then now you can access one. Like, understood? Then, so how to create user? We'll see that in the next class. సర్వర్లో ఉంటాడు ఆ వాళ్ళు ఇస్తారు పర్మిషన్స్ ల్యాప్టాప్ i3 i5 i5 10th of 11th generation అందులో ఒక యూజర్ని క్రియేట్ చేయాలి ఆ యూజర్ని ఏం చేయాలంటే ఈ లాగిన్ తోటి అసోసియేట్ చేయాలి చేస్తే అప్పుడు నరేష్ అనే అతను DB6 యాక్సెస్ చేయవచ్చు అది ఎలాగో చూద్దాం